Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Fortin. I'm the Director of Promotion for the Maine Tax Portal here at Maine Revenue Services. It's my pleasure to be your MC for today's webinar on the Maine Tax Portal for Rollout 2. During today's webinar, you'll hear that on December 1st, 2022, the Maine Tax Portal will become available for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view notices, and much more. You can visit the Maine Tax Portal information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. It's important to note, after May 31st, 2023, our existing systems, iFile, Meters, and EasyPay, will all be deactivated for sales, use, service provider, and withholding taxes. You can prepare for this transition by printing your filing history from iFile prior to May 31st, 2023. Our presenters today will be discussing this further, and I will remind everyone again at the end of the webinar about these important dates. Before we get started and introduce our panel, I have a few housekeeping items to review with everyone. First, the raise hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen will not be used for today's session. However, if anyone has a question for our presenters, attendees can type them in by using the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. The presenters will answer as many questions as possible. If we're unable to address your questions live, we will follow up via email following the webinar. There may be times when you'd like the presenter to repeat a step you've missed, or perhaps you're simply unable to watch the entire session. Therefore, it will be helpful to know that today's webinar will be recorded and can be viewed by anyone who's registered. There are no documents or presentation materials you'll need for today's webinar. Feel free to take notes, but know you can always re-watch the recorded session anytime you'd like to review the material. And next, we should be reminded there can be unexpected technical challenges with any virtual presentation. Our presenters are all speaking to you live in different locations. We appreciate your understanding and ask for your patience if anyone should experience any technical difficulties. That concludes all of our housekeeping items. We're ready to get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Our first two are both deputy directors from the Income Tax Division. We have Lisa Grayton and John Lewandowski. And we also have Rachel Stetson, Business Systems Administrator from the Property Tax Division. And we also have from the Compliance Division, Tax Examiner Jason Marple. And finally, we'd like to extend our special thanks to Tyler and Tabitha, who are part of our support team helping us with the demonstration of the Maine Tax Portal. Good morning, everyone. John, let's get it started.
Thank you, Michael. All right, as Michael said, Tyler and I and everyone that you just met a moment ago are going to be showing you some existing Maine Tax Portal functionality as well as some upcoming functionality that will be coming online later this fall. We're going to show you how to register a business for an account, how to create user IDs and make estimate payments, how to file withholding and pass-through withholding returns, and how to submit a BETR application. We're also going to demonstrate additional payment options. Now, please realize none of the data used for this demonstration is actual taxpayer data. It's all created in our development environment. Since we're using a development environment, you're going to be seeing blue populate links beside some fields, such as for banking information. Those won't be available to you when you use the portal. We are in a development phase, so what is being demonstrated may look different once in production. The system is super easy to use and it is intuitive, but if you get stuck, you can visit our website at maine.gov/revenue, where we have instructional videos for detailed instructions. Before we get started, take note that preferred browsers are Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. Internet Explorer is no longer recommended or supported. Also, anyone with a tax type in the first rollout can use the Maine Tax Portal. Those tax types include cannabis excise, potato, blueberry tax, healthcare provider, corporate income tax, franchise tax, the insurance taxes, and estate tax. Later this year, we'll be including sales and use tax, the service provider taxes, withholding, and pass-through withholding. For existing portal users, it won't be necessary to register for the portal again. You'll only need to create logins for each unique business entity or type to access the system. Taxpayers eligible to use the Maine Tax Portal will receive invitation letters containing detailed information on how to utilize the portal and create a username and password, which we're going to show you in this demo. So let's get started. To begin, there are several ways that you can access the Maine Tax Portal. For this demonstration, we're going to begin at maine.gov/revenue on the home page, and here we can either select the red File and Pay button or navigate to the top menu, hover over Electronic Services, and select the top link for Maine Tax Portal. For this demonstration, we're assuming you're a new business registering a tax account for the first time. If you are an existing Maine business, you do not need to register again. This registration is only needed for brand new businesses that do not already exist. However, everyone is going to need to create a Maine Tax Portal account. So registering a new business versus creating a Maine Tax Portal account are two different functions, and a brand new business will need to do both steps. So now let's begin by going to the Businesses panel and selecting Register a Business, and then Register a Business again. The first page contains instructions that you'll need to complete the request and list the tax types that are currently available in the portal. To proceed, you're going to need your federal identification number, your social security number, or your social security number, depending on your business model. Throughout the application, you'll see active help indicated by blue icons with blue text. When you are ready to proceed, select the next button at the bottom of the screen. On the business information section, you'll be asked to select the type of business, such as a corporation, sole proprietor, or limited liability company, to name a few. For today's demonstration, we're going to be using a C corporation. You're also going to need your business activity start date, which is the date you plan to start or did start doing business. All fields with a red asterisk are required, and you'll be unable to proceed until those fields have been completed. Now let's pick next at the bottom of the screen. On the business identification name, you'll be asked to complete the business legal name, your ID type, and ID number. Please note also the blue bar showing your progress as you move through the application. If you're interrupted or need to come back to the application later, you can select Save Draft at the bottom. Selecting that option will result in an email being sent to you with a PIN number that you can use to access the application later. The application will be saved for 30 days. You can also select Cancel anytime, and that'll cancel the activity that you are in. Right now, we're going to select Next to proceed. On the business contact information page, you'll be asked to enter a first and last name, your phone number, email address, and whether you are a duly authorized third-party representative. If you pick that option, it's going to require authorization from the business. For today's demonstration, we're going to be selecting no to that question. You're also able to add an additional contact and their contact information to allow Maine Revenue Services additional ways to contact you. Once you've completed this page, select Next. Here we are at the business address section, where you're going to enter the physical address of your business and your mailing address if that's different. All addresses have to be verified with the U.S. Postal Service by selecting that blue hyperlink Tyler's pointing at now, titled Verify Address at the bottom of the screen. You'll be asked if your mailing address is different from your business address. In the interest of time, we're going to say no and select Next. We are now at the account type section. From this page, we select all the tax types that our business is engaged in. Today, we're going to select income tax withholding and BETR, business equipment tax reimbursement. Once we have selected all the applicable tax types, we hit Next. Since we selected corporation as our business type, we're going to be required to add a corporate officer, which we'll do now, including contact information such as the first and last name, the officer's home address, and the percentage of ownership if they have one. You'll also need to verify the address here by clicking the blue Verify Address link and selecting Add. The next step on this screen will be to attach documents to support this registration, such as your Articles of Incorporation or IRS Determination Letter, also known as an SS-4. To add an attachment, click on the blue Add Attachment link, which will prompt your browser window to open, and you can select the document you wish to attach. Under the type of document, you have two options. We're going to be selecting Support Documentation. Then we add a description, and then go to choose the file. Once that's done, we click OK. And then once all the attachments are added, we hit next. On this page, we're required to select the North American Industry Classification System Code, or the NAICS code, which is the specific activity code related to our business. You can search for the code using a keyword, and results of the search will show in the panel to the right. If you select a code, a brief description will populate in the bottom panel. Now, your search may result in multiple pages, and to narrow your search, you can filter your results by entering a more specific keyword. Once we've found the code that best suits our business, we select Next to proceed. Now we're going to enter the withholding account begin date and then hit Next. We're going to do it as well for the other tax type we chose here, business equipment tax reimbursement. After we hit Next, we're going to be asked if we want to sign up for the Maine Tax Portal username today. And for purpose of this demonstration, we're going to say no and hit Select, and then select Next. We're going to be asked to confirm our registration by clicking the box. When we hit Submit, we'll be asked to enter our email twice for verification. Once we've done that and hit OK, you'll get an email with the application confirmation code. You can also print this confirmation page by selecting the printable view button and using your browser's print function. Maine Revenue Services recommends that you maintain this information for your records, and the confirmation number allows Maine Revenue Services to locate your application if needed. Upon completion of your application, you'll receive in the mail an invitation to register a username and password in the Maine Tax Portal. An example of that letter is showing on your screen now. Now that we have received this letter, let's proceed. And in the interest of time, we're going to begin in the Maine Tax Portal. So there are two ways to register a username. You can select the Create a Username at the top right of the home screen under the Login, or you can go to the Businesses panel, select Register a Business, and select Create a Username. Now you're faced with three options, and you're going to have to pick one. Those are: I represent a business or organization, I'm a sole proprietor, or I'm an independent third party. Today we're selecting option 1. Again, note, you can always save a draft by hitting the button at the bottom of the screen, or you can cancel your activity. Now let's select Next to continue creating a username. Here you can see the information you'll need to proceed with your registration. Once you've reviewed it, hit Next. The Validate Tax Information section contains required information. You'll need to select an ID type, such as your federal ID, individual taxpayer identification number, or social security number. Because we represent a business or organization, the only option we have is federal ID. So as we enter that and the account type, and today we're picking income tax withholding, and then we'll hit Next to move on. So the verification type is going to ask us for either the amount due or an amount refunded from one of your returns filed in the last 3 years. A zero return can't be used for this process. You can also use the letter ID from the invitation letter you received from Maine Revenue Services, and that's what we're going to do today. So the letter information can be found at the top right corner of the letter from Maine Revenue Services. You'll need the letter ID and the letter date, and then select Next. Here you're going to enter user information, including a username of your choice. Enter your first and last name, your email address twice for confirmation. Then you'll also be required to select yes or no for paperless mail delivery, but keep in mind that there are some types of documents that we must send via the U.S. Postal Service. The security panel requires us to enter the password we'd like, and the password requirements are at least 12 characters that contain a mix of upper and lower case letters, at least one number, and a special character. You can view the password requirements by clicking the blue circled icon beside the word password. To make sure that your passwords are entered correctly, you can also pick the blue I at the end of the password field to view. The passwords you enter are only visible until they match, and at that time they'll turn to asterisks and they can't be viewed any longer. You're also going to be required to select and answer a secret question. Then the next panel requires a phone number, and that's going to default to a cell phone, but you can select the type of phone that you wish, and then we'll select next. And here we come to a summary of everything entered so far. Once we verify that the information is correct, we can hit submit. Again, we'll be asked for our email address twice to verify. And then when we hit OK, we'll receive an email containing the confirmation code, which we can also print by selecting printable view. Now let's go on to show you how to make an estimated payment. This type of payment does not require you to be logged into the portal. So we're going to navigate to the payments panel and select make a payment. For this demonstration, we're going to be making an estimated extension payment. We're going to select our payment type from either estimated or extension. We're going to select estimated. We're going to select the tax type, which is pass-through withholding tax. And then we're going to enter our ID type and federal ID twice for confirmation, and then the business name and phone number, and we're going to hit next. You will have to provide a business address. Again, all fields marked with a red asterisk are required and must be completed before proceeding. Again, addresses have to be verified by the U.S. Postal Service with that verify address link at the bottom of the screen. Once we've done that, let's hit next to continue to the payment method screen. Here we need to select a bank account from either savings or checking and enter the routing number. As a reminder, we are using a testing environment, so the populate bank routing number here won't be available to you. After that, enter your account number twice for confirmation. Then we need to enter the filing period and date. An example would be December 31st, 2022. And you enter the payment as a two-digit month, the payment date as a 2-digit month, 2-digit date, 4-digit year. You can also select that calendar icon, and that payment will default to the current date, but you can either enter the date using the date format we just talked about or select from the calendar icon. Now enter the payment amount twice for confirmation. And once you've verified that the information here is correct, select next. If everything looks right here on the summary screen, select submit. Again, we'll need your email address twice to verify, and then hit OK. Once again, I would ask you to maintain this information for your records. For now, we'll hit OK to go back to the login page of the Maine Tax Portal. All right, that concludes this portion of the demonstration. I'd like to encourage everyone who has a question to type it in using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen at any point during the webinar. For now, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, John. Hello to all the attendees, and thank you for joining today's demonstration regarding the second phase of our Maine Tax Portal. I hope you enjoy this early preview of new functionality that will be available on December 1st. Before we begin the withholding portion, I'd like to point out one item you will not see demonstrated today: how to use the Maine Tax Portal to file an unemployment return. The simplest reason for that is that the Maine Tax Portal is unique to Maine Revenue Services and our taxes, while unemployment returns are filed with the Maine Department of Labor. A business will continue to submit their withholding return to MRS and their unemployment return to DOL just as they do now. Okay, let's begin. Today, Tyler and I will walk you through a demonstration of 4 items. First, filing a quarterly withholding return. Second, amending a previously filed quarterly withholding return. Third, filing a year-end W-3 reconciliation statement. And fourth, closing and reopening a withholding account. Let's start by filing a quarterly withholding return. We are logged into the account for Fake Company Incorporated. On the summary screen, you can see a panel for each account that this business has registered for. Please notice there are 2 income tax withholding accounts registered and active for this business. Many companies have wage and non-wage withholding and desire separate withholding accounts for their record keeping. For this portion of the demonstration, we will navigate to the income tax withholding account labeled as wage and click on View and File Returns. We will select the Q2 2022 period, otherwise labeled as ending 30 June 2022, and click on the File Now link. If we were filing as a paid preparer, we would select Yes and enter our information. Today, we will select No and then Next. We are brought to the Schedule 1 payment screen. If your business is not a semi-weekly remitter, you could select Next to proceed without entering any payment information. Today, we will demonstrate a business that is required to remit withholding payments on a semi-weekly basis. Normally, this payment information would be pre-populated for you. However, it will not be for the first quarterly filing on the Maine Tax Portal. You may input your dates and payments directly into the table, as Tyler has just done for us. Let's select Next. Now we are brought to the Schedule 2, where entry of each payee, their Social Security number, and withholding amount is required. You may enter this information directly into the cells, similar to how we entered the payment information on the Schedule 1, which could be the preferred method for a business with only a few employees. Or you may choose to use our Excel formatted template, which allows you to build the Excel file for the first use of the Maine Tax Portal, save it within your own internal files, and then add or subtract employees and input withholding amounts as needed. You may even be able to produce an Excel file in our required format directly from your payroll software, thus reducing the need for any manual work. We have a template available for you. Simply click the Download Template link. The template appears on the screen now and provides some helpful formatting information for your use. We also have helpful reminders using the How to Upload link if you require additional assistance. Let's click OK to close this screen and return to the Schedule 2. Now Tyler will upload a pre-filled template that we had previously created. Click Upload Template link, select your file, and click OK to add. Once it's uploaded, the data from the contents of the file is displayed. As always, it is recommended that you take a moment to double check that the entries are correct. If any are incorrect, you can click into the cell to edit the information easily. Once you are satisfied the entries are correct, select Next. The withholding screen displays the total Maine income tax withheld from our Schedule 2 entry, the first line, and our payments made from our Schedule 1 entry, the second line. We can see that our filing is in balance as we had expected it to be. Select Next to proceed. The balance screen represents the same expectations of no additional amount due and no overpayment. Let's select Next. We are brought to a summary screen now, which again confirms what the two prior screens displayed. This information provides one last chance to verify that the information matches your records. If you need to return to a prior screen to correct an entry, you may hit the previous button at the bottom of your screen. We can confirm that our information is correct, so we select Next. Lastly, we are brought to the declaration page. We check the box to declare that the contents of our electronic return are true and correct. We also enter the name of the person filing the return, and once again to confirm, and select Submit to transmit this filing to MRS. The confirmation screen displays the confirmation number for the return submission. You may click on Printable View to use your browser's print function to print this information. You may write the confirmation number down, or you may retain the emailed confirmation message that is sent to the email associated with your Maine Tax Portal account. This confirmation number is your proof of filing. Let's click OK to return to the withholding return screen, where we can now see the Q2 2022 has been filed. You may click on the View Submission link to view and print the filing for your records if you wish. Now let's move on to a demonstration of amending a previously filed quarterly withholding return. In preparing to file the Q2 return that we just completed, we discovered that Q1 contained errors, and we wish to correct those now. Let's click on the View or Amend Return link for Q1 2022. The return opens in a view format, so we now click the Amend link at the top of the screen to make the required changes. We are not a paid preparer, so we choose No and then Next. We know that we made one $2,000 payment on April 22nd of 2022, so we enter that now. Then we select Next to proceed to the Schedule 2. We have already prepared an amended Excel spreadsheet. Tyler will import that spreadsheet now, and then we can talk through the changes we are making to the Q1 filing. In the past, MRS only wanted the changes themselves submitted on the amended Schedule 2. Now we are asking that every amended Schedule 2 contain the full list of payees, both changed and unchanged payees. Let me say that one more time for emphasis. MRS is now asking that every amended Schedule 2 contain the full list of payees, both changed and unchanged. Let's take a look at how that plays out with the data entered from our amended Schedule 2 import by discussing each row of the table. In the first row, we have corrected the amount withheld for Abe Lincoln, reducing it from $1,000 to $800. In the second row, there are no changes to John Boy, so we just carry his $500 withholding amount over from the original column into the amended column. In the third and fourth rows, we have corrected Paul Bunyan's Social Security number. To do so, we zero out the withholding reported in the third row for Paul, and then we add a new line, the fourth row, for him with his correct Social Security number and the previously reported withholding amount. Notice that when we add the new line, we must input $0 for the original withholding amount and $500 for his amended amount. Last, we look at a new payee entry for John Smith in row 5. We inadvertently omitted him on the original submission. Again, we put $0 for the original withholding amount and $200 for his amended amount. As always, it is recommended you take a moment to double check that the entries are correct once you've uploaded your Excel spreadsheet. Please notice the top of the screen shows the original and amended withholding amounts reported. Additionally, a total is displayed at the bottom of each column to assist you in knowing if the information is reported correctly. Once you are satisfied that the entries are correct, select Next. The withholding screen displays the total amended Maine income tax withheld from our Schedule 2 entry, the first line, and our payments made from our Schedule 1 entry, the second and fourth lines. We can see that our filing is in balance as we had expected it to be. Let's select Next to proceed. The amended balance screen represents the same expectations of no additional amount due and no overpayment. Select Next. The amended questionnaire screen is displayed and asks 2 questions, plus provides a freestyle reason for amending. The first question inquires about the nature of an overpayment. We don't have an overpayment in this scenario, so we answer no. The second question asks if payee statements have been issued for the corrections identified. It is not year-end, so no payee statements have been issued for 2022 yet. Let's answer no. In the reason field, let's enter corrected SSN for one payee, corrected amount for another payee, and added a third payee that was omitted. Then we'll select Next. We are brought to an optional documentation page that is most useful when an entity amends after year end. This is where you would provide copies of corrected annual statements, such as the corrected W-2 forms. Today, we are going to select Next as we have no attachments to add. The summary screen displays, which again confirms that our filing is in balance. This information provides one last chance to verify that the information matches your records. It does, so we select Next. Lastly, we're brought to the declaration page. We check the box to declare that the contents of our return are true and correct. We also enter the name of the person filing the return, and once again to confirm. Then we select Submit to transmit this filing to MRS. Again, our confirmation screen displays the confirmation number for the return submission. MRS recommends you retain this information. Let's click OK to return to the Q1 return summary, and then click the Returns link to go back to the Withholding Return screen. We can now see that Q1 has an updated status of submitted. Okay, I hope everyone is still with me on this preview of Maine Tax Portal withholding topics. Don't forget that you can add questions to the Q&A area at any time. All right, let's get back to the demonstration. While amending the Q1 return, we realized that the 2021 reconciliation withholding return had not been filed. This is also known as the W-3 return. Let's file this now. Click on the File Now link near the 2021 reconciliation withholding return. We are prompted to enter the total payee statement's withholding. This is the annual Maine withholding total for the 2021 period for all Forms W-2 and 1099 issued to payees. Let's enter $10,000 as that is the sum of Maine withholding from our 2021 W-2 forms. If you are a third-party payer of sick pay, enter applicable information on the next two lines. If you are not sure if this pertains to your business, you may click the links for additional information. This does not pertain to our fictitious business, so we will not enter anything on these two lines. We are brought to the fourth line on the screen, labeled Total Quarterly Withholding Reported. Here, we will enter the sum of all 4 quarterly amounts of remitted withholding per the quarterly 941 ME returns. If any of the 4 quarters had been amended during the year, you would include the amended figures in your summation. Let's enter $10,000 as that is the amount reported on the 2021 quarterly returns filed, and then select Next. Lastly, we are brought to the familiar declaration page. We check the box to declare that the contents are true and correct. We enter the name of the person filing the return, and once again to confirm. Then we select Submit to transmit our filing to MRS. The confirmation screen again displays your confirmation number for your return submission. MRS recommends you retain this information. Let's click OK to return to the withholding return screen, and then we'll click the entity name to return to the summary screen. Now, the Maine Tax Portal has more features than just filing a return. A business can use the Maine Tax Portal as an easy and convenient way to alert MRS of an account that needs to be closed and/or reopened. We see that there are tab choices we could make from this summary screen. For this portion of the demonstration, let's click the More tab. The screen displays many panels of information and potential actions you could take. Let's scroll down to the panel labeled Account Management Requests and click on Report Business Closure. The screen displays a list of all the registered tax accounts for the logged-in business. To select the one you wish to close, click the box under the column labeled Close Account. The screen will require a date of the closure and a reason. Today, we wish to close the non-wage account. As you can tell from our list, we cannot easily identify which of the 2 income tax withholding accounts is the non-wage account, but we do know that each account ID is unique. Let's cancel this action, pop back over to the summary screen for a moment, and take a look at the accounts to locate the account ID we need. We've located the non-wage account and see that account ID 0996-5113 is the one we wish to close. Let's go back to the More tab. Navigate back to the Account Management Requests panel and click on Report Business Closure. Now we can easily identify the first income tax withholding account with account ID 0996-5113 as the one we wish to close. Let's check the Account Close box, enter April 1st, 2022 as the close date, and no longer need non-wage account as the reason for closure. Select Submit to transmit this account closure information to MRS. The confirmation screen displays the confirmation number for the closure submission. MRS does recommend you retain this information. Let's click OK to return to the More screen. Now, what if you realize you closed the incorrect account and need to reopen it? Or what if you didn't make an error, but realize a few months later that your business now needs to resume using that account and you wish to reopen the closed account for remittance of Maine withholding? Easy fix. From this More tab, scroll back down to the Account Management Request panel and click on the Reopen a Closed Business link. The Reopen function will prompt you to enter current contact information and then will reopen the closed account. I hope you've enjoyed today's income tax withholding presentation and that you are looking forward to using the Maine Tax Portal on December 1st. I'll conclude my presentation with a bonus tip for you. If your business is a licensed payroll provider and has been using the Meters bulk file method, you will soon be able to submit a bulk file using the Maine Tax Portal. Again, we use the More tab to locate the Payments and Returns panel, and then locate the Upload Bulk Withholding File link. The Upload function will prompt you to enter the file information for upload. Please note the only file format change anticipated from the current Meters text file format will be to allow the file to accept both the 11-digit account number for current withholding accounts and the new 8-digit account number for new withholding accounts that register after we complete rollover 2 later this year. No other file format changes are anticipated. And now I'll turn the presentation back over to John. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Now we're going to demonstrate how to file a pass-through withholding return. Let me start by saying that today's session is not meant to provide instruction on how to calculate pass-through income entity withholding, but merely how to file a return on the Maine Tax Portal. There is ample guidance and instructions on calculating pass-through entity withholding available at maine.gov/revenue. So here we are. Now that we're logged into the Maine portal, we can see that the Action Center here is showing outstanding items to work, which is indicated by that little red 6. If we click here, we can see that based upon our registrations, there are actions that are due, including that a pass-through entity withholding return for December 31st, 2021 needs to be filed. We could click the File Return link here to file that return, but today we're going to return to the Summary screen by clicking on the Summary tab, and then scroll down to the Pass-Through Withholding panel and click the View and File Return links there. On the next period, we're going to see the periods and status of the returns. If we click on the Periods tab, we can also see those periods, and notice that the 2021 period has the red triangle indicating that the return is past due. Let's click that File Return link. The first screen we come to asks if the return is being filed by a paid preparer. If that is the case, we click that box marked yes and enter the relevant information below. Today we're going to select no and hit the blue Next button. Here we are now asked if we would like to add a designee for Maine Revenue Services to discuss the return with. Again, we'd select yes and enter the pertinent information, but for brevity's sake today, we'll hit no and next. At the business information screen, we select whether we are a federal Form 1065 or 1120S taxpayer. We're going to select Form 1065 filer by clicking yes and then no for the 1120S filer. We're going to pick yes as to whether we are claiming a compliant taxpayer exemptions or composite filing exemption on behalf of a non-resident member. This is going to cause Schedule 3P to appear later in the process. Now we're going to enter the number of non-resident members, and let's enter 3 on that line. And then we're going to select yes as to whether we have an interest in or have received main source income from another pass-through entity K1. And then lastly, we're going to select no to the fiscal year question. Of course, if our entity had a fiscal year, we'd choose yes and enter the applicable dates. Right now, let's hit the blue next button to move on. So since we picked yes because we had an ownership interest or received main source income from another pass-through entity, we are asked here for the member's name and the EIN from the related entity. If a member had multiple such relationships, we'd make multiple entries, one for each applicable entity. Right now, let's enter Jill Jones and the EIN for the applicable entity. If we had more names, we'd enter them all, and once they were all done, we would hit the next button. Here it's Schedule 1P. This is where we enter our entity apportionment information. Let's enter 100,000 for Maine sales and 500,000 for everywhere sales. That'll give us an apportionment factor of 20%. And then we'll put in an entity income of $250,000 and hit next. This brings up Schedule 2P, where we enter the withholding for each member. Today we're going to enter amounts for our 2 non-resident members by clicking on the box for the name of the member, entering the name, Jill Jones, Jill's social security number, and her distributive share and the amount withheld. And then let's do the same for our other member, Sam Smith, his social, distributive share, and withholding amount. You'll notice also that we have an option to upload a template. Since that was just demonstrated in the prior session, we're going to skip that here. Now let's hit next. Because we selected yes earlier as to whether we had an exempt member, Schedule 3P appears, which allows us to list our exempt members. Let's enter Willa White, and Willa's social security number, ownership percentage, and we'll click the box that Willa is participating in a composite return, and then hit next. Here we arrive at a screen showing the amount that we have withheld. We have an opportunity to get credit for other estimate payments. Of course, that amount will reduce the amount of withholding due. Let's leave that at 0 today and hit next. This brings us at the balance due page. We're asked if we want to make a payment, and if we answer yes, we come to the payment screen and enter the bank account and other information. However, we're going to click no and hit next, and that's going to bring us to the summary screen. If everything here looks okay, we hit next once again. We're asked to make a declaration by clicking the box that the statement contains in the return are true, and then we enter our name twice and hit submit. Again, this brings us to a confirmation page where we can print a copy. Hitting OK will show us that our return status is now submitted, and we can view that submission again if we like. Otherwise, if we click our taxpayer name at the top, we return to the summary screen. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to show us how to file a BETR application.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. Tyler and I are going to be walking through filing a BETR application on the Maine Tax Portal, as well as some third-party access points. So from the summary page under the BETR account, you can see that an action item has appeared. We're going to click on that action item. And then we can see this is a reminder to add a power of attorney if that's applicable to your business, if a third party will be filing your return. We'll select the Add Power of Attorney link. And here you'll need to select the type of power of attorney. We'll select a regular power of attorney and select Next. Here you'll add the representative name and, if applicable, timeline. Because this POA is only relevant to BETR, we will click the X for the other tax types. And then we will select the appropriate timeline. Since we only want this for this filing period, we'll select January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Although you can select whatever dates are applicable to your POA, and then we'll click Next. Here we can add an address. In the interest of time, we'll leave this blank and click Next. If you want to add contact information, you can do that here. Again, for the interest of time, we'll leave it blank and click Next. This red exclamation point icon indicates a required step, and you must include an attachment of the signed POA with a wet signature. We'll upload the attachment using the Add Attachment. And then we'll select Submit. And here again is a confirmation number, which MRS recommends keeping for your records. If your business has a POA, you most likely have a third party filing on behalf of your business. They'll need to set up their own username and password using the Create a Username link under the login from the Maine Tax Portal page. And then they'll select the third party option. Once they've created a logon, they will need your FEIN and the account number, which can be found on your summary page under Account. We've already set up a request for third-party access to this business. So from the Action Center tab at the top of the page, you can see there is an action item message saying there's a pending access request. When selected, you can either grant or deny the access. We're going to grant access to this preparer. You can also view and manage this information from the Manage My Profile link at the top right corner, and then the More tab. Then the Access Management panel. For third-party users, this panel is where they would go to request third-party access. And this is also where you as a business can cancel access or add access to other accounts if desired, or change the periods they have access to. Now that we've gone over the third-party aspects, we're going to demonstrate filing an application, which will be referred to as the return. So navigating back to the summary page, we're going to click on the View and File Returns, and we can see that the current period is available to file. This link will become available annually once the filing period starts on August 1st. But just as a reminder, for this filing period, the Maine Tax Portal will become available to taxpayers on December 1st. We're going to click File Now. And if you're a third-party preparer, you would select Yes and enter your contact information. Remember, a relevant POA is needed for a third-party preparer. For today, we will not file as a third-party designee, so we'll say No and then Next. If you're filing for equipment located in only a single municipality, you can select No and then the municipality from the drop-down menu by typing the beginning of the municipality. This drop-down eliminates the need to look up the municipal code. However, if you have equipment in multiple municipalities, you will select Yes, and you will have the option of either listing them individually or importing your consolidated return. For now, we'll select Import Consolidated Return and choose the file. It's important to note that the original formatting for the spreadsheet needs to be maintained for the import to work, and you should always verify that the values imported are correct. So for now, we'll select Next. You may have noticed that the mill rate used in the consolidated spreadsheet was converted to the tax rate when it was imported. This is expected and is done for consistency in math checks for the regular and consolidated returns. The value fields have math checks to ensure the requested reimbursement is not higher than the valuation times the tax rate. This helps to avoid any keying errors. So you can see when we selected the zero value and changed it, it adds a red exclamation point denoting an error. If the wrong municipal code was used due to a typo, you can select the correct option from the drop-down menu. Any villages listed will need to be replaced by the municipality it resides in, as is required on the paper application as well. And if the municipal code is not recognized, the entry will be omitted and you can enter it manually. Any other changes that you need to make can be done so here, and you can also add other municipalities if necessary. Once you're ready to move on, we'll select Next, and you'll come to the Attachments page, where you can add the 801A and/or B, and you must attach proof of payment and copies of your tax bills. You can see this page has the same exclamation point indicating this is a required step. You can attach them as individual documents or as a combined document. And we'll select Add Attachment. And if all the required information is not included, this will result in delays in issuing your reimbursement. As John mentioned in the registration demo, if you're not able to finish all of this in one sitting, you can save the draft and come back again to finish it. For now, we'll select Next. This step would be where you may add additional information if you'd like. It's not required, but we wanted to give the opportunity to do so if you choose. We'll leave it blank and select Next. If you'd like the reimbursement sent as a direct deposit, you can add the bank information here, but in the interest of time, we're going to select No and Next. This summary page will list the total requested reimbursement so you can check to make sure it's the correct value. We'll select Next. Here you will need to declare that the information you've entered is true and electronically sign the document. And select Submit. You'll get confirmation that the return has been submitted with a confirmation number which MRS recommends keeping for your records. You can then go back to the returns page and then view submission to see the exact date and time the return was submitted and by whom. If you need to make a change before it has been processed, you can select Continue Editing and go through the stages again, making any necessary changes. Once the return has been processed, the Continue Editing option will disappear and the date it was processed will appear under the submitted date. If needed, you can file a timely amended return through the Amend hyperlink that will show up after the return is processed. That concludes our demonstration of filing a better return. And remember, you can use the Q&A button for any Maine Tax Portal questions you have. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it off to Jason.
Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everyone. I'll be passing along some important information about using the portal to pay liabilities that have become due. There will be a couple of payment options available to you within the portal that we will now demonstrate, making a payment on account and requesting a payment plan. While paying the tax in full at the time of filing is a statutory requirement, we do realize other factors may come into play that prevent making payment in full a possibility. There could be additional accrued interest and penalties for filing and or paying late, or even an adjustment to the tax due on the return after it's filed. We'll go ahead and continue with the business used for the earlier demonstrations. Please note the Make a Payment hyperlink within each tax type panel. Clicking on this Make a Payment will allow you to pay a debt for the tax type in the panel the hyperlink is located in. Today, we'll make a payment towards the Wage Income Tax Withholding account. First, we'll click on the Make a Payment hyperlink, and this will take us to the payment screen. Select the bank account type, which would be either checking or savings, and then enter your bank routing number. The bank name will pre-fill based on the number entered. Then enter your account number twice. Notice you have the option to save the bank account information for future use. For this demonstration, though, we'll select type you are going to pay. To pay a liability, account payment and return payment are your options. Account payment allows you to make a general payment and apply towards the entire balance on the account. The return payment applies the payment towards a specific filed return. Today, we will select the return payment. And here you would select a specific period to apply the payment towards. You may only select one period per the return payment, and there needs to be a balance due on that return. For this demonstration, we will select the period ending 12/30/2021. If you're selecting a period and the due date has already passed, the payment due date is today's date, and is not modifiable because the debt is already due. If the return you select has a future due date, you may choose the date up to the due date. We'll go ahead and select today's date for our return payment. And next, we will select the payment amount. On returns that are past due already, you will have a choice of paying the current balance or an other amount. Keep in mind, if you're paying a lesser amount, this may cause interest and penalties to continue to accrue. For returns that are not yet due, the amount is a free-form entry. So today we will select other amount and enter 300. You will need to re-enter the dollar amount, and then we'll click Submit. We'll be asked here to enter our Maine Tax Portal password to confirm the submissions. Once you're done, click OK. And here is the confirmation page, so please make note of or print this confirmation number for your records. We will click OK, bringing us back to the summary page. If needed, you do have the option to make a change to or delete a payment while it is still pending. Under the More tab, click on Search Submissions, which is in the Submissions tab, left-hand box. Then click on the hyperlink of the submission you would wish to change, which is in this case the payment. Here you'll be brought back to the payment. In the upper right-hand corner, there are options to continue editing or delete. If you wish to edit the request, click Continue Editing, and this will make the payment screen itself interactive, and you may edit as you wish. Once finished with any changes, click Submit, and here you'll be prompted again to enter your password. Click OK once finished. And here's the confirmation page to please make note of or print for your records. Click OK, and your change to the payment has been successful. If you decide to delete the request, click on Delete, and to confirm the deletion, you would just click Yes, and then OK. Now we'll click on the submissions hyperlink, which is in the upper left, and then our business name, and we'll be brought back out to the main page. Before we move on to the next topic though, I'd like to take a moment to remind anyone here that has questions, feel free to ask them through the Q&A chat button, and that's at the bottom of the Zoom screen anytime during our presentation. So next we will actually demonstrate how to create a payment plan request. The Request Payment Plan option found within the More tab, Payments and Returns panel, is available for taxpayers who are unable to pay the entire balance in full. So from within the Payments and Returns panel, we'll select Request Payment Plan. Please ensure all required tax returns are filed before proceeding. Missing returns may cause your payment plan request to be delayed or rejected. You will notice there's a Save Draft option at the bottom of the screen, allowing you to save your data before completion of the request. This request is pretty quick and straightforward, so this option may not be needed. Also, at any time in the process, you may hit the previous button to go back to the previous screen. We'll begin by designating the schedule we wish to submit. So first, we'll select either All Debt, which consists of the full balance on the account. This can include all accounts and amounts that are not yet due, or just the current debt, which excludes future amounts not yet due. For this exercise, though, we will select Current Debt. Now, the install type selection can be input as either number of installments or an installment amount. If you select number of installments, that number itself cannot exceed 12. If you select installment amount, the amount must be $25 or greater. Selecting the lowest number of installments or highest dollar amount will reduce the interest and penalty accrual. Today, we will select number of installments and then enter 3 in the next field. We will now indicate when we'd like the first payment to become due, and that must be between 10 to 14 days from today's date. After choosing the due date, we will click Next. Here, you'll be brought to the installment breakdown screen for further review. A quick reminder, at any time in this process, you may hit Previous to go back to the previous screen and modify your entries if you're not happy with how it looks. If everything looks okay, click Next. And here is where we will select the bank account for the automatic withdrawal of the payments. You may add an account if one doesn't yet exist, or if wishing to use a different account. If the payment plan is approved, just remember electronic monthly payments will be automatically processed from this account that you designate. We will add a new account by clicking the Add a Bank Account hyperlink. We'll enter the account name you wish to save this as in the portal. Then we'll enter the bank name itself, bank account number, routing number, and we'll be sure to choose the account type, which would be either checking or savings. And once you're finished, we'll click Add and then Next. And this confirmation screen lists important information about the payment plan, which must be acknowledged. Please ensure you read this section in its entirety before you submit your request. Once the statements have been reviewed, you would select I agree to the terms listed above and then click Submit. And your payment plan request has been submitted. Please make note of this confirmation number for your records and then click OK. Just a few things to note. Payment plans are subject to Maine Revenue Services approval, and the act of requesting a payment plan does not delay collection activity. If the payment plan is approved and while it remains active, associated collection activity on debts within the payment plan itself will cease. Payment plan requests are typically reviewed by the end of the next business day, and upon approval, an installment agreement letter will be sent to your Maine Tax Portal account. This will outline the terms of the agreement. If not approved or we require further information, a Maine Revenue Services staff member will reach out to you via telephone to discuss. That does wrap up today's payment demonstration. Thank you all for listening. I'll now turn the floor over to Michael Forden.
Thank you, Jason. We'd like to invite our audience to pose any questions you have in the Q&A area at the bottom of the Zoom screen. There are a number of questions that have come in already that we've answered. So if any of our attendees would like to peruse the list of questions and answers, please feel free to do that. And this also gives you an opportunity at this time to submit any new questions. If you'd like to send those in now, we're going to be wrapping up the webinar here in a short time, and this gives you yet another opportunity to send in those questions. So please do that, and we'll check to see if any questions need to be answered before we end for today. While we're waiting for those questions to come in, this is an opportunity to take a look at our Maine Tax Portal website. There is a wealth of information here that you'll find useful. Right now you can see the Maine revenue homepage. This is simply maine.gov/revenue. And we're going to scroll down the page, and under the important updates section, you'll see the third link down, the important information about the Maine Tax Portal. Let's click that. This will bring you to the Maine Tax Portal information page. If you'd like to navigate here directly and bypass the Maine Revenue homepage, you can simply type into your address bar maine.gov/revenue/portal, and it will bring you right here. The top of the page has the Maine Tax Portal is here, and the logo there, which you can click, and that will bring you right to the tax portal itself, where you can log in and use the system. Let's scroll down the page a bit and take a look at the upcoming webinars. So many of you attended today, and we appreciate all of you joining us. Today is one of two different sessions, actually now 3 different sessions. We've added a third group I'll talk about. So today was withholding business equipment tax reimbursement, or BETR. And next week is the webinar on sales, service provider, and business use tax. And those 2 sessions alternate weeks. So every Thursday or every other Thursday, that session comes back around again. So you can choose either a morning or afternoon session. So there are many more sessions that are available between now and December 15th. So if a colleague would like to attend, or if you'd like to attend yourself again, feel free to do that. We've also added a third session for payroll service providers only, special webinar on 2 dates. They're listed on our website as well. So if you'd like to register for those, that's Tuesday, October 11th from 2 to 3:30, or Wednesday, October 12th. 2 to 3:30. So we'll be sending out some postcards on that, in the very near future, but in the meantime, you can register now right on our website. So let's scroll back up the page and take a look at the instructional videos. You'll see the link there. Check out our instructional videos. We'll click that. And instructional videos are going to be a great way for anyone who would like to get more training at your convenience to simply go through a topic of interest about the Maine Tax Portal. All these videos here are organized into sections. We have the Get Started section. And as we scroll down, file a Maine tax return, make a payment, and finally, estate tax. So we encourage you to peruse those and take advantage of them. There are a couple that we'd like to point out in particular for our tax practitioners who are in the audience, or payroll service providers, anybody who might require third-party access. So there are a couple of videos that would be important here to mention. We know Rachel had talked about third-party access in her presentation, but these videos here are available all the time, so you can take a look at them. The first one is setting up a third-party account on the Maine Tax Portal, which is the middle video on the top row. That will explain how a third party can access and use the system. And then the second video on the next row down is managing your Maine Tax Portal account, that first one there. That explains how the taxpayer can turn on this access. So a video for both the taxpayer and the third party, so watch the two together, would give you a very good understanding of how the process works. So please take advantage of that. We're going to go back a page, back to the Maine Tax Portal information page, and let's point out our contact information. So if you have a question, something that has come up since today's webinar, and you would like to send that in to us, our email address is taxpayerassist@maine.gov. I'll give that to you again, taxpayerassist@maine.gov. And our telephone number is 207-624-9784. That number is for the Taxpayer Contact Center. Again, it's 207-624-9784. Okay. So we're about ready to wrap up. I'm looking to see, there doesn't look like we have any remaining questions that need to be answered, but do not fear. If you've thought of something in the last few seconds and you want to send those in to us, again, that taxpayerassist@maine.gov email address is a good way to do that. So there are some important takeaways for today's webinar. Let's recap those important things. One, of course, is the date when the system becomes available. On December 1st of 2022, that is when the Maine Tax Portal will become available for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view notices, and as you can see, much more. You can visit the Maine Tax Portal information page, again, maine.gov/revenue/portal, to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. It's also important to note that after May 31st, 2023, our existing systems, iFile, Meters, and EasyPay will all be deactivated for sales, use, service provider, and withholding taxes. Although you can prepare for this transition by printing your filing history from iFile prior to May 31st, 2023. We also want to recap the important resources we discussed today, the Maine Tax Portal information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal. And then, of course, if anyone has a question about the Maine Tax Portal, you can email us at taxpayerassist@maine.gov or call 207-624-9784. So in closing, we hope you've thoroughly enjoyed our Maine Tax Portal webinar. I'd like to thank all of our panelists and support staff, but in particular, all of you, all of our attendees, for joining us today. As a reminder, today's webinar has been recorded. It can be viewed by anyone who's registered or may have missed a portion of today's program for any reason. Tomorrow, all of the registrants will receive an email with a link to the Zoom site where this can be viewed. And if any of our attendees submitted a question today that requires research or some additional time to answer it, we will address those through email, and we will be happy to assist you in any way we can. So that's everything for today. We will conclude our webinar. We wish all of you a great rest of your day. Thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.